Your friendly neighborhood host, JT Wheatley here, back for another episode of the History of Comic Books podcast. This time, the history of black characters in comic books. As in all mediums, and quite frankly history, the history of black characters in comic books is complicated and a bit difficult at times. One of the first black characters to appear in the comic book was Lofor, who appeared in Mandrake the Magician by Lee Falk, first appearing in the strip in 1934. Interesting enough, Mandrake the Magician is also considered the first comic book superhero. He was Mandrake's crime-fighting partner and best friend. Known as the Prince of Seven Nations, a confederation of African tribes whose rule he rejected to join Mandrake on his adventures. Lofor was often referred to as the strongest man in the world, able to lift an entire elephant with one hand and is immune to the direct effect of magics, i.e. lightning bolts and so forth. Originally, he was depicted as an illiterate, speaking poor English and in jungle garb who provided the muscle to Mandrake's brain. He was also referred to as Mandrake's giant black slave in one strip in 1935. Lofor was later modernized in 1965 when Fred Fredericks to begin speaking English well and wearing suits. When the Defenders of the Earth cartoon series and syndication was restarted on September 8, 1986, he was then presented as a full partner on the team alongside Mandrake, along with other classic heroes like Flash Gordon and the Phantom, another Lee Falk creation. At this point, Lofor was a master tactician and mechanic, though when his action figure was released in the line with the show, he was called a Caribbean ninja. Go figure. Another black character to regularly appear in comic books early on was Ebony White in The Spirit, who first appeared on June 2, 1940, by Will Eisner, who was a young cab driver who served as the Spirit's sidekick. Sadly, his exaggerated depiction, with his large eyes and pink lips, receives racist connotations today, similar to blackface actors of the time. Eisner would always argue he was a stereotype and not a racist depiction, pointing out that he was a heroic character who was treated with respect by other characters in the story. Ebony would eventually develop beyond his comic relief with the Spirit, and when Commissioner Dolan started paying his education, later Eisner would introduce Detective Gray, a non-stereotypical black detective. Marilyn Mercer, a former protege of Eisner's, would defend the depiction of Ebony White in the 1966 New York Herald editorial, pointing out black groups never complained about him at the time, with many understanding he was a standard depiction. Nevertheless, it is not one that anyone could get away with today, and even Eisner has expressed mixed feelings about his appearance later on. When new Spirit stories were produced by DC in 2007, he was given a much more mature appearance, and though he did give a passionate nod to his past racism when asked by the Spirit, "You expect me to wait on the lawn with a lantern?" He is portrayed as having a street experience and running an illegal cab service since he's only a kid and too young to drive. White's origin is also personally tied to the Spirits, as it's now revealed he was the cabbie that drove the Colt to his place of the ambush where he nearly died. Feeling guilty, Ebony White becomes his willing sidekick. Later in 2015, a new series imagines Ebony White as a grown-up, now private detective himself, and revealing his real name to be Aloysius. In the 1987 TV movie of The Spirit, Ebony White is played by Bumper Robinson and called Yubi instead. He had no part in the 2008 film, though, thankfully. During the golden age of comics, one of the first black artists to find success was Matt Baker, who was most famous for drawing the Phantom Lady series, whose cover for the issue of number 17 of the scantily clad character was one of the many examples Dr. Frederick Warren would use against comic books. Baker would work steadily before his untimely death from a heart attack at age 37 on August 11, 1959. In 2009, he was posthumously inducted into the Will Eisner Comic Book Hall of Fame. The Golden Age also produced the first known comic book by black writers and artists called All Negro Comics in 1947 by John Terrell and George J. Evans Jr., featuring stories like Ace Harlem about a black detective and Lion Man and Bubba about a black adventurer sent to the African Gold Coast in search of uranium. It was a comic book created towards black readers and meant to instill a sense of pride in their heritage. The comic even began with a one-page editorial entitled All Negro Comics, presenting a first in Negro history. While only lasting one issue, it remains the first all-black comic with both the characters on the page and the creators behind it. Despite the early racist depictions, black characters would continue to appear in comic books throughout the 1950s, slowly evolving, especially when used in stories on race and intolerance. One notable story came from EC Comic Books in Weird Fantasy number 15 on March-April 1953 by Al Feinstein and Joe Orlando with the story Judgment Day. In the futuristic story, an astronaut is sent to observe the planet Cybernia for Earth's galactic republic to see if its people are ready to join the larger Confederation. However, the astronaut observes that the race is segregated of robots that inhabit Cybernia, with the orange-colored robots reducing the blue-colored ones to manual labor. As a result, Charlton, the astronaut, rules that they are not ready to join as they haven't achieved racial harmony like the rest of the Republic worlds. He then removes his helmet to reveal he is not only a black man, but a clearly handsome and intelligent one as well. A far cry from the depictions like Ebony White. The first and still most popular superhero in mainstream comic books to this day is Black Panther, who first appeared in Fantastic Four, number 52, on July of 1966 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and who later get his own miniseries in September of 1976. According to Lee, his name was inspired by a pulp hero who had a pet Black Panther, and Kirby originally used the concept title Cold Tiger. In his origin, Black Panther is T'Challa, the king of Wakanda, an independent and advanced country in Africa which has never been conquered. It was this, along with being the chief source of vibranium, the super rare metal in the Marvel Universe, that Lee and Kirby reasoned why Wakanda became so advanced. However, it wasn't long after his creation that he inadvertently got entangled in politics when the Lowndes County Freedom Organization used the symbol the Black Panther in opposition to the Alabama Democrats in October of 1966. And it was also around that time when the Black Panther Party itself was formed, originally as a self-defense organization. As a result, Marvel changed his name to Black Leopard in Fantastic Four number 119 on February of 1972, stating he changed his name to avoid association with the group, though he neither endorsed nor opposed their actions. However, by Avengers 105, it's revealed that T'Challa is back to being Black Panther, stating changing it would be like Scarlet Witch changing her name, and he is not a stereotype. He would still invoke Sir Lee Carmichael's Black Power movement in the poorly named Jungle Action series of 1972 to 1976 from issues number 5 to 24, as he fought to consolidate Wakanda's rule and while fighting blaxploitation-style villains and even the KKK. When the series was turned into Black Panther by Jack Kirby, the story shifted to weird sci-fi directions, Kirby's specialty, which inadvertently showed a black superhero in adventures normally reserved for white ones. Kirby would leave only after 12 issues, and the series would then be canceled by issue number 15. In 1988, he got a 4-issue miniseries by writer Peter McGinnis and artist Dennis Cohen called Panther's Quest, and then another in 1990 with artist Dwayne Turner called Panther's Play. In 1998, Black Panther was given another series, again as part of the Marvel Knights line, with writer Christopher Reese and Mark Tesseri, with the Client and the Enemy of the State stories. Priest shifted his adventures in New York City, ground zero for some Marvel superheroes, where he would meet Everett Ross, a CIA agent tasked with keeping tabs on him. Ross's depiction is that of a politically incorrect but ultimately heroic agent, a nice contrast to Black Panther. Priest stated Ross's creation was to serve as a bridge to the Black Panther mythos and the mostly white audiences Marvel serves. By the end of Priest's run, a multiracial New York detective, Casper Cole, would take up the mantle and later become White Tiger when T'Challa returned to the role. In 2005, Reginald Hudlin of the BET fame would revive the series with John Romita Jr., this time with a deeply racial stories in which he fought Dr. Doom while teaming up with other black Marvel superheroes like Luke Cage, Brother Voodoo, and Blade. Hudlin would also relaunch the series in 2009, and this run was most notable in introducing T'Challa's sister, Shuri. After his series was canceled again, Black Panther would still bounce around with guest appearances, including one at one point replacing Daredevil as the protector of Hell's Kitchen at Matt Murdock's invitation. In 2016, Black Panther got another series with Ta-Nehisi Coates as the writer, which continues to this day. Black Panther will, of course, appear in other mediums, notably a motion-style comic book cartoon based on the run by Reginald Hudlin and John Romita Jr., produced by Marvel Animation, and the BET. The series premiered on June 23, 2010, and will be released on DVD the following year. His live-action debut would take some time, as Wesley Snipes, who would later play Blade, tried to get the film off the ground in 1992, but nothing came of it. When Marvel Studios was announced in 2005, Black Panther was one of the characters announced as the film's in development, with Mark Bailey hired to write the script in January 2011. His live-action debut finally came in Captain America Civil War on May 6, 2016, with the groundwork for Wakanda having been briefly mentioned in Iron Man 2 in 2010, and Vibranium first introduced in Captain America the First Avenger in 2011, along with Avengers Age of Ultron in 2015, which also debuted one of his chief villains, Ulysses Klaue, played by Andy Serkis, who first appeared in Fantastic Four number 53 on August of 1966, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Black Panther T'Challa is played by Chadwick Boseman. Fun side note, a native of the upstate of South Carolina like myself, who seeks out vengeance when his father, T'Chaka, played by John Caney, is killed. It leads to his own film, Black Panther, released on February 16, 2018, directed by Ryan Coogler, as he deals with a challenge to the throne by Killmonger, played by Michael B. Jordan. Due to the excitement for the project, the film attracted the who's who of black actors, from Angela Bassett playing T'Challa's mother, Oscar winner Lupita Nyong'o as his love interest, and fellow Oscar winner Forrest Whitaker. Most notably was Letitia Wright as Shuri, T'Challa's sister and tech genius who stole the movie. Everett Ross was played by Martin Freeman, who first appeared in Civil War as well, along with Andy Serkis returning as Klaue. Considering they were the two principal white actors in the film, along with their past roles in the Lord of the Rings movies, they were unofficially dubbed the Tolkien White Guys. When Freeman was asked about his role as essentially a side white character, he pointedly replied, "I now know how it feels to be a black actor in a mostly white movie." Well said, Mr. Freeman. Hoping to near universal acclaim, the film will go on to gross $1.3 billion worldwide. Despite its notably political subtext, Wakanda is criticized for not help the rest of the world, particularly black people, when they have the advanced technology to do so. Black Panther Shuri Okoye, played by Diane Guerrera, would appear in Avengers Infinity War on April 27, 2018, with Wakanda being a chief location for the film. Racism and social justice would be a way to integrate black characters in the comic books, such as the classic Green Arrow Green Lantern series in 1970. One of the social problems it addressed was racism, including a pivotal scene where a black man confronts Green Lantern over why he didn't do more to help the Earth over aliens. Later, a black man would actually take up the role of the Green Lantern with John Stewart in Green Lantern number 87 on January of 1971. Created by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams, Stewart would be the first black superhero to appear in the DC comic books, with Adams modeling his look after Oscar-winning actor Sidney Poitier, a common practice considering Superman was modeled after Douglas Fairbanks Sr. His origin was originally that of an architect, later retconned into a Marine, who was selected by the Guardians as a backup Lantern for Hal Jordan after his first backup, Guy Gardner, was seriously injured. In his first mission, Stewart is tasked with protecting a racist politician, which he does, but manages to embarrass the politician in the process. Jordan originally uses this as proof that Stewart is a bad selection to be a Green Lantern, noting his distaste for authority. But when it's revealed that the politician staged an assassination attempt for political gain, Jordan concedes that he is an excellent choice to be the new Green Lantern. John Stewart would feature regularly throughout as a Green Lantern and DC, and would go on to romance Kama Tue, who is his future wife. John Stewart also figured prominently in the other mediums, including the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited cartoon series on the Cartoon Network, where he is voiced by Phil Lamar as served as the Green Lantern on the team. In a twist on the comic book's continuity, Stewart has a romance with a Hawk Girl, and is later revealed that they are the parents of Warhawk, a member of the futuristic Justice League from the Batman Beyond series. A significant real-life black person who appeared in comic books was Muhammad Ali, who appeared in the classic Superman vs. Muhammad Ali one-shot in 1978 by Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. In the story, Superman and Ali are made to fight in a boxing match to see who is Earth's champion. In the classic scene, Ali uses brilliant verbiage to point out that Superman is an alien and not of Earth, resulting in Superman willingly being depowered so Ali could face him in a fair boxing match. Of course, Ali wins and later defeats the alien's champion, even predicting what round he would fall, the fourth, which Ali was famous for. Adams provided a classic cover for the comic book, featuring numerous celebrities such as Frank Sinatra and Mick Jagger, and DC personalities such as Howard Chaykin and Paul Leavitt in the stands watching the two icons box. While originally a political rogue who fought all the way to the Supreme Court to avoid the draft, this comic book fully solidified Ali into the mainstream of pop culture. DC would make another stride with black characters when they started Black Lightning #1 on April 1977, created by Tony Isabella and Trevor Von Eden. He would be the first black superhero with his own series at DC, which was about Jefferson Pierce, a former Olympic athlete turned teacher in the suicide slum of Metropolis. Originally, he got his electrical-based powers from a belt he wore, but was later retconned to being a meta-human born with these powers. A significant choice was made by having him be a superhero in Superman's hometown, Metropolis. However, while Superman often dealt with otherworldly threats, Black Lightning dealt with street crime and would make a subtle commentary on social events. For instance, on the cover of issue number 3, he's blasted with a water cannon. While this makes sense considering his electrical-based powers, it also evokes images of civil rights protesters being hit by water hoses as well. He will later take on villains like Tobias Whale, who appeared in Black Lightning number 1 as well, a white crime boss in the same vein as Marvel's Kingpin. At one point, Black Lightning was even offered membership into the Justice League of America, but rejects it, instead joining the Outsiders, a DC superhero group consisting of those outside the norm. Sadly, his series was canceled after only 11 issues, though Black Lightning would continue to be a regular figure in DC Comics, even serving as President Lex Luthor's Secretary of Education. Most recently, the CW network launched its own TV series on January 16, 2018, with Cress Williams in the title role, while also featuring his daughters, Thunder, who first appeared in Outsiders number 1 in August 2003, created by Judd Winnick and Tom Rainey, and Lightning, who first appeared in Kingdom Come number 1 in 1996, created by Mark Waid and Alex Ross, along with Jeff Johns and Dale Egonsam, when they incorporated her into the Justice Society of America. Played by Natasha Williams and China Ann McClain, respectively, in the TV shows, they are also had a larger social significance, with Thunder, Arissa Pierce, also being an open lesbian who everyone accepts. When her parents are asked where she's at, they casually answer Arissa's out with her girlfriend. Tobias Whale, played by Marvin Cronin Jones III, is also changed to being a black albino, and the series has explored larger racial and social issues. For instance, when Black Lightning was referred to as a vigilante, a political commentator states, "Why are black superheroes called vigilantes, but not white ones?" The show opened to instant critical and rating success and continues to this day. In light of social events, one hero of interest was Tyrock, who appeared in Superboy number 216 on April 1976, possessing the ability to alter reality with his voice, his power also evoking the sound of black protesting. Created by Mike Grail and Cary Bates, he is one of the first black superheroes at DC, his origin being that of a resident of the island Marzal, which disappears from Earth every 200 years, and his people were descendants of slaves that were left there in the 18th century. Like Wakanda and Marvel, they somehow develop a highly advanced society, despite being cut off from the world. Someone needs to inform comic book creators that advancement in society results from sharing and trade with other cultures, not isolationism, but also a distrust of outsiders. When the Legion of Superheroes showed up at Marzal responding to an emergency, Tyrock originally resisted them, but later joined forces after admiring their acceptance and tolerance of each other. As a result, Tyrock joins the Legion, becoming the first black member of the team. Considering that the Legion exists in the 30th century, they are really behind at the times. This is notable, though, as until this point, nearly every humanoid alien, from the green-skinned Brainiac to the blue-skinned Shadowlass, were still drawn with white features. Thus, Tyrock is really the first black character on the team. Tyrock has since appeared off and on in the series since then. Despite winning one of DC's first black superheroes, Tyrock was a sore spot for artist and co-creator Mike Grail, who reportedly tried to introduce black superheroes for years but was consistently rejected by DC editor Murray Boltinoff. Finally, when Grail got to do Tyrock, he hated everything from his name. He said he might as well be called Tyrone, to his origin, which he said Marzal was essentially a segregated society. Grail, as a result, designed what he called a stupid costume, a cross between Elvis and a pimp, but he did model his appearance on former football player and movie star Fred the Hammer Williamson. Grail's misgivings aside, Tyrock still holds distinction as one of DC's first black superheroes. During the 1970s, blaxploitation films dominated like Superfly in 1972 and Sweetback in The Hard Way. The characters in the film also almost had superhuman features that would influence their comic book counterparts. One character in particular was Luke Cage, who first appeared in Luke Cage Hero for Hire number 1 in June 1972, becoming the first black superhero to have his own series. Created by Roy Thomas and Archie Goodwin and John Romita Sr., whose name is inspired by the 1967 film Cool Hand Luke, he was a man wrongly imprisoned and gained his powers after volunteering for a prison experiment. Once freed, he becomes a hero for hire, and later teams up with Iron Fist in his own series, Power Man and Iron Fist, in 1978 to 1996. By the end of the series, writer James Owsley attempted to shed his blaxploitation roots, giving him a larger vocabulary and dropping his iconic catchphrase, "Sweet Christmas." Though that would make a comeback, as Luke Cage speaking his iconic phrases is on the cover of one of my favorite Christmas sweaters. The pairing of a martial artist and a black superhero was no coincidence, as they were both popular movie genres at the time, with the martial arts movie being popular in black communities as well, thus helping with the crossover appeal. Later, Luke Cage would get a plainclothes look in Cage in 1992 and 1993, dropping his campy yellow shirt and gold headband, and then go hardcore in Cage 2002 for the Marvel Max line. However, that comic book would face criticism for his exaggerated black facial features, almost akin to Ebony White, and how he was reduced to being a ghetto mercenary. Back in the regular line, Cage would romance and even marry fellow superhero Jessica Jones, with whom he have a daughter, Danielle, named in honor of his best friend, Iron Fist Danny Rand. As a superhero, he has remained a regular fixture at Marvel, becoming a member of both the Avengers and the Thunderbolts, and various other teams, along with teaming with Black Panther for the crew. In other mediums, Luke Cage did appear in various Marvel cartoons, though his big break was in Jessica Jones' Netflix series, which debuted on November 20th, 2015, and played by Mike Coulter. He would then get his own Netflix series, as said in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, on September 30th, 2016, in which he took on various crime lords like Cottonmouth, played by Mahershala Ali, and Diamondback, played by Eric Lahara Harvey, for the control of Harlem. Cottonmouth first appeared in Power Man number 19 on June 1974, created by Len Wein and George Tuska, while Diamondback first appeared in Luke Cage Hero for Hire number 1 in June 1972, created by Archie Goodwin and George Tuska. At one point, Diamondback even wears a superpowered suit in the show similar to his green and yellow costume from the comic book, which creates a classic reaction from Bobby Fish, played by actor Ron Cephas Jones. "What are you, some kind of pimp stormtrooper?" The series also introduced black female NYPD detective Misty Knight, played by Simone Kissick, who first appeared in Marvel Premiere number 21 in March of 1975, created by Tony Isabella and Averill Jones. The fact that Luke Cage is a bulletproof black man is not lost on the showrunners, and he even wears a hoodie in symbolic reference to Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old who was killed in Florida on February 26, 2012, allegedly for looking like a thug for wearing a hoodie. As an added touch, Cage's fans add self-made bullet holes to their hoodies in protest of the police. The show received positive reviews, particularly for its Harlem setting and atmosphere. It has the best soundtrack in the MCU outside of Guardians of the Galaxy, with Netflix instantly ordering a second season. Coulter would also appear in Luke Cage in the Defenders series, which premiered on August 18th, 2017 on Netflix, and had Cage team with 3 other Netflix Marvel superheroes, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. On June 22nd, 2018, the second season of Luke Cage premiered on Netflix, this time with Bushmaster, played by Mustafa Shakur as the chief villain, who also first appeared in Iron Fist number 15 on September 1977, created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne. In 1968, an East Village Other article ran an editorial bemoaning the lack of black characters in comic books, and Stan Lee had an assistant editor write a letter countering it, pointing out the diverse characters they had introduced in recent years, from Gabe Jones and Sergeant Fury in The Howling Commandos number 1 on May of 1963, who was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, Black Panther, Joe Robertson in Amazing Spider-Man, J. Jonah Jameson's loyal assistant editor at the Daily Bugle, and Falcon in Captain America. However, there was a problem with that letter, as Falcon had yet to be introduced. 3 months later, Falcon did appear, created by Stan Lee and Gene Colan, who modeled his look after then college football star O.J. Simpson. He did play football before, well, the other stuff, and first appeared in Captain America number 117 on September of 1969. Depicted as Captain America's best friend and partner, he was inspired by a minority TV show characters like Alexander Scott, played by Bill Cosby and I Spy, and Kato from The Green Hornet, played by Bruce Lee. Both TV shows depicted these characters as intelligent, dynamic beings on equal footing with their white counterparts, and eventually became more popular. Both Cosby and Bruce Lee would soon outshine their white co-stars. The show was done with Falcon. The same was done with Falcon, though his origin was a bit strange. Born Sam Wilson, he would grow up becoming a street criminal, Snap, who en route to Rio de Janeiro for a big score gets trapped on Exile Island, which is occupied by Nazi war criminals. There, The Red Skull, in a convoluted plot, uses the cosmic cube to merge Wilson's mind with Redwing, a falcon on the island, and then erasing his criminal past to that of a social worker. He would later team with Steve Rogers' Captain America to defeat the villains on Exile Island, and later crafted his costume and identity to become the Falcon. However, Falcon was never wanted to be second fiddle to Captain America, and soon Captain America's comic book would be renamed Captain America and the Falcon from 1971 to 1978. He even had a love interest, Leela, who chastises him for not asserting himself more, and when Henry Gyrick tries to recruit Falcon to become a member of the Avengers to meet the racial quota, he quits at first opportunity because he doesn't want to be a token black superhero. However, Wilson would call Rogers his brother and reject the more extreme nature of black nationalism, even fighting it in the story Burn, Whitey, Burn, when the Black Power movement wants to burn down the city. Later, Falcon would get his iconic wings in Captain America and Falcon number 170 on February of 1974, designed by no less than Black Panther. Originally, he moved via a Talon grappling hook, swinging through the city like Spider-Man. This soon became a symbol of freedom and advantage over Captain America, as the super soldier was never able to fly on his own. He would get his own series in 2004 by Christopher Priest, which lasted only 14 issues, but emphasized his status as a black superhero, and would later join the Avengers again around the same time as well. Most recently, Falcon even assumed the mantle of Captain America after Steve Rogers was unable due to rapid aging. Don't worry, he gets better. An all-new Captain America number 1 of November 2014 by Rick Remender and Stuart Immonen, who redesigned Falcon's costume to merge to Captain America's red, white, and blue color scheme. Of course, once Steve Rogers got better, he took the mantle back of Captain America, and Wilson has since returned to the Falcon. Like Luke Cage, Falcon has appeared in various other mediums until he finally debuted in live action in Captain America Winter Soldier, which premiered on April 4th, 2014, with Anthony Mackie playing him. He would have his wings in the movie, but he wouldn't get his iconic red look till Avengers Age of Ultron on May 1st, 2015, and Redwing, now reimagined as a drone, until Captain America Civil War on May 6, 2016. Notably with Civil War is his chilly relationship with Bucky the Winter Soldier over who is Captain America's best friend. He also appears in Avengers Infinity War on April 27, 2018. Another significant black supporting character at Marvel was Jim Rhodes, who first appeared in Iron Man number 118 on January 1979, created by David Michelin and John Byrne. In a retcon of Iron Man's origin, it's revealed that Rhodes was a Marine lieutenant and trained combat pilot who helped Tony Stark escape Wong Chu's prison camp, where Stark invented his first Iron Man armor. After completing his service, he would go to work for Stark as his personal pilot and chief aviation engineer, along with becoming his closest friend. He would even don the Iron Man armor when Tony relapsed into alcoholism. Later, he would take up the mantle of War Machine, which was created by Len Kaminski and Kevin Hopgood, a version of the Iron Man armor geared for heavy-duty combat, and getting his own comic book series that would last for 24 issues. Rose has since become a consistent character in the Marvel Universe, even romancing Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel at one point. In the movies, he's first portrayed by Terrence Howard in the first Iron Man film, released on May 2nd, 2008, before being replaced by Don Cheadle in Iron Man 2 on May 7th, 2010, in which he finally dons the War Machine armor. Since then, Cheadle has been a consistent part of the MCU movies as War Machine and Iron Patriot, briefly in Iron Man 3, and continues to be Iron Man's best friend in the films as well. However, instead of being a Marine, he is now an Air Force officer. On October 1980, Cyborg first appeared in DC Comics Presents number 226, created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, and became known as a key member of the Teen Titans. His origin is that of Victor Stone, the son of scientists Silas and Eleanor Stone, who experimented on him as a child, resulting in greatly expanded intelligence. He later rejects his parents and sets out to become an athlete, but when his injuries cripple him, Stone receives cybernetic enhancements, thus becoming Cyborg. While he would occasionally get his own miniseries from here and there, Cyborg remained tied to the Teen Titans, first as a member and later as a mentor as he got older, and a new crop of young superheroes showed up. He's made numerous appearances in other mediums as well, most notably in Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go cartoons, voiced by Carrie Payton in both. Cyborg made his live-action debut in Smallville on February 16, 2006, played by Lee Thompson Young, this time as a Metropolis high school student and football player who undergoes cybernetic enhancements to save his life. However, when the company, Cyberkinetics, is revealed to be owned by LexCorp, it leads to him to join forces with Clark Kent to stop them. He appears normal to Clark till he uses X-ray vision, revealing the inner metal plates match his comic book pattern, and he's only called Cyborg in January 18, 2007, when Green Lantern gives him the code name. In the movies, he first appeared in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice in 2016, and an email of all things. That movie's just a mess. Played by Ray Fisher before debuting as a full character in Justice League in 2017. He is supposed to appear in a future Justice League films in his own movie schedule. His movie scheduled for April 3rd, 2020, but with the failure of the first Justice League movie, all of DCEU's plans are now up in the air. And I think we're going to stop for there. When we come back, we're going to get further into more notable black characters, and including the international dating, such as the Cloak and Dagger, and of course, the further how they eventually ventured into TV and movies. And with that, have a good day, and go ahead and enjoy a good comic book.
Look, we gotta talk.
Yeah, Thunder Talk.
We're going all kinds of sideways with that sweet nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
It's topical.
Political.
Dare I say radical.
We've got all your latest news and reviews.
Hot music.
And a whole lot of comedy.
But it ain't for kids.
Definitely mature content.
So let's talk.
Let's talk Thunder Talk.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO Network.
And now is February 1st, 2024, time for the favorite comic book of the week. Duke, number 2, by Joshua Williamson and Tom Riley, which continues the story that finds Duke on the run and searching for the conspiracy behind a failed mission in which he saw a jet turn into a robot and destroy the pilot he was flying with. And as a result, he's now considered a fugitive, and 2 Joes are sent after him, and he ends up going with an old friend of his who happens to be another classic Joe. Williamson does a great job just as a part of this larger Energon universe that under Skybound Image that's like rebooting the Transformers G.I. Joe franchises and mixing them together in a very cool way, in which we're seeing Duke from the beginning this time out, and he does a great job just mixing the other Joe characters. Like when you see them show up, they're perfect for each character and who they're supposed to be. And it's matched great by Tom Riley's art, which is absolutely gorgeous. It has this great action-packed kinetic art style. It fits perfectly for this new reboot of the franchise, and it's great to see where this character is going. And I like, even though you know the mystery behind the conspiracy, anyone who's experienced with G.I. Joe or Transformers knows what's going on, it's still great seeing it unfold, especially with the cliffhanger as another classic character from G.I. Joe shows up at the very end. Just a great read in general. I've been loving this Energon universe from Void Rivals, the Transformers, Duke, Cobra Commander. Just a lot of fun for as a child of the '80s. It's great to see these franchises rebooted again in a great new way with the top brand writers like Williamson and Riley. So definitely check that out. And with that, for Black History Month, I decided to dust off some of my history of comics, black characters, and so forth. And hopefully, it's interesting revisiting. Hopefully, I did kind of a good, admirable job just trying to do my own part in telling this history of comic books and all the varied characters. And we'll continue with the second part next week. And with that, go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book. And definitely check out Duke, because it's a great comic book to read, and especially if you're an old G.I. Joe fan.